How you guys doing? Welcome to It's Keeping It Base podcast with your host is really Kev.
It's your boy P.
And we're here today with a special guest. We have Meghan, our yoga instructor. Beautiful, beautiful. So I just wanted to kind of, introduce Meghan to you guys. Let her tell her story about how she became a yoga instructor, how she's helping our space, and, the ideology that we have of bringing her into the space. So I'll start a little bit with explaining how I met Meghan and, the idea we had of bringing Meghan into space. So I met Meghan a handful of years ago in New York City. She was doing corporate wellness, and, we aligned and we talked and we saw, she was doing great things with the yoga classes in the space. And as Prince and I were building Plant Base, I kept it in the back of my mind like, okay, we got a yoga instructor on deck that, we can always call when we were starting to think of how we wanted to utilize the space. And we always knew we wanted it to be a community space for, all type of wellness activities and creative activities. So I definitely kept Meghan in my phone book or my black book, whatever you want to call it, right? So when we did that, I just, was like, you know what? We finally got the space rocking and rolling. Let's start setting up events. Meghan was one of the first people I called. So now I'll let Meghan kind of tell you her story, and, she'll run it down.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction.
Yes.
It's wonderful. My name is Meghan. I have been working in corporate wellness for quite a while, but I started my yoga practice in 2008. So it's been a while, coming on that 20-year anniversary. And I, when Kev approached me about having yoga in this space, I immediately said yes. One, I love the idea of trying to build a community using a dispensary, right? So many people have been thrown in jail, have been looked down upon, stigmatized for something that is just as useful as certain medications. It is equally as valid as having a glass of wine or, and so to bring a community together around all of that, to try to destigmatize some of what happens around marijuana is awesome. And I definitely want to be a part of that because no one deserves to be in jail for weed. Especially since we have discovered so many valid medicinal uses for it. Let's take it and run with it and get our society healthier and happier and more well. Yeah. In the past almost 20 years of my practice, I study a lot with the nervous system. My absolute passion is restorative yoga. I think that it is the way for us to not only create more balance and health in our lives, but it's the way for us to see each other as these amazing human beings that we are. We all do have this beautiful light and all this beautiful energy inside of us, and if we're able to unlock that in a community, oh man, who knows where that could go? Just in all of the best possible ways.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And when you bring your style of yoga into the space, it's definitely more relaxing, right? Definitely more, come in, let go of, everything that you had going on. We're here to kind of just center ourselves, take a moment, even if it's 45 minutes or an hour, and just relax and breathe and, just get lost in your own mind for a second, right?
Yeah.
And we're pairing it with the cannabis, right? So it's an elevated yoga in a sense where, you can consume, you don't have to consume. There's multiple ways you can consume. It doesn't necessarily have to be smoke. So, we're elevating the experience with that. So, how do you kind of feel with the mixture in that yoga class?
I mean, as someone in the yoga community for a while, the yoga community and weed, they kind of go hand in hand in many, many ways. It's the whole intent of wellness is to find those better places within us. And what I find really interesting is a lot of the research has shown how some cannabis use can unlock parts of our brain. and allow us to see things a little bit differently. And yoga has the power to do that same thing. So we're taking these two, medicines in a way, combining them, and we're going into places in our mind. We're unlocking places within ourselves that allow us to see our own value and worth, and also to see that in others, and that's what we need, right? In this time where everybody is so kind of focused on our differences and focused on that separation, like, we can use a couple of these different modalities to bring us together. You don't have to smoke when you come here. You don't have to be high when you come here. The yoga in and of itself, like, is going to help you to feel in that elevated high space, regardless of whether or not you consume. And then if you do consume, and then try the yoga too. You don't have to be experienced in yoga in order to come and enjoy this space. That's one of the things that I have learned over all the time, is the start of the yoga practice might be the most beautiful. That first discovery, right? Like that first high, right? You're like, oh my gosh, wow. This can be so good. Something. Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, there's this thing that I feel now that I didn't feel before, and I want to keep feeling that, so during our classes here in this awesome space, I love this space so much, guys.
Thank you.
That's what I want to bring. I want people to come in of all different abilities, all different kind of lifestyles. I've worked in fitness and in wellness for a long time. You don't have to be an expert in any of those things in order to do yoga, right? Sometimes people forget that yoga is not just that physical practice where we're putting ourselves in fun positions, which, it is super fun to do that. When you start to get to know your body and you kind of experiment in that way, it's like, oh my gosh, look at what these bodies do. They can make ourselves look like silly little creatures, and it becomes its own little art form. And so when people come in, I want them to kind of feel that, like, how amazing our bodies are, and all the things that they do for us in all of their shapes and in all of their abilities. Like, it's our body that, like, carries us through this human experience. And so we will do some movement, and then some breathing, a little bit of quiet space for our minds to just kind of wander, and getting into that balanced place, like touching into our nervous system, allowing that sympathetic side, that fight or flight, to kind of just chill out, like, be safe here with us, and just hang out and just experience what it is to kind of have a space where nothing is necessary.
Yeah, well, that's fire. And I've taken one of Meghan classes, and Prince has as well.
I was gonna say that, like, one thing is, like, I wanted to experience the class, because I feel like for a lot of people, when they hear anything that has to kind of do with, like, fitness in a space, they always kind of, like, question if they should go, because they don't know, like, the level of intensity. Like, am I gonna look silly doing this? Like, so what I enjoyed most about your classes, I felt like it was for every level, right? And it was like one of those things. Well, I deal with back pain, so, like, a lot of the things that have to do with cannabis, or, like, my interest in it come from, like, figuring out other ways to, like, deal with that pain, right? Instead of taking, like, these harder drugs. But it was like the combination of doing that plus the yoga, I just felt like new for the day. Like, I just felt like ready for the day. So, I love the style. I kind of want to, I love, like, how you're explaining it, but, like, how did you find the style, or do you, like, pick it when you see people in the class, or is it something that, like, before you get here, you're kind of, like, ready to go? Because I feel like sometimes, when I see different classes, I feel like they're a lot different, and I don't know if that's, like, something that's, like, on your mind, like, you're gradually growing, or you're like, oh, okay, I see the way the class is, and I feel some type of energy, so let me go, like, in this direction.
Oh, get right into that nitty-gritty. So, I also have a practice of Reiki, and Reiki is another energetic practice, and I do a lot of Reiki, I do a lot of yoga, and when I'm in a room, I'll say, oh my gosh, very large question that I will hopefully be able to answer in as simple a way as possible. When I first started teaching yoga, I had much more planned before I walked into a room. As my experience grew, the way that I practice and the way that I teach has changed. Now that I have, thousands and thousands of hours of classes, and then at least twice as much that of personal practice, it, just like in any way where when you become an expert in something, like it kind of flows through you in a different way than when you're sitting and trying to think about it and plot it out. When I walk into a room, sometimes I just, I take a deep breath and I just kind of see the people who are coming in, and I just kind of get a sense for the energy that everybody has. And then that is kind of where I base my class. Like I usually come in with a seed of an idea. Like I know I want to do this pose, or I know I want it to end this way energetically. And then I kind of just let it come out from within me, which almost seems like I don't have it very planned, but it all is very planned, but not necessarily in a conscious way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the nice thing about having some of these practices for so long. It's like, okay, well, what do these people want to do? Mm-hmm. Because it's not about me, right? My practice is very different from my teaching. Like I want everybody to have a bit of an experience where they feel how amazing they are, right? Because everybody really has amazing qualities within them. So it's, what are the poses that we can do that will help to unlock this group to make them feel that? And there's certain things that I know will do it, right? So we tend to do some of those, right? Cat and cow things, child poses, things where we like open our hearts, because that helps us to take a big breath. And when we are oxygenated, right, we can think better.
Right.
Yeah. So I hope that actually answered the question and didn't just kind of, dance around it.
No, I mean, I definitely went from, being a strength and conditioning coach to working as, a wellness fitness coach in the corporate arena as well. So you do come in with the idea of, this is how a class is going to look. And as people come in, you see people's skill level. You see what people are feeling. You feel the energy of the day. You kind of, tweak it a little bit and, change some things. But you have your idea of, how you want it to run.
Yeah, it's like you have your seeds.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, and we'll see like which direction this kind of goes in. Because I do a lot of, in the corporate world, I also do a lot of strength training. And strength training and yoga can go very, very well together. But I also like to completely separate it, because not everything has to be go, go, go. Yeah. And in our society in particular, it feels like everything is like, no, you have to do more. You have to do more. It has to be heavier. You have to push harder and harder. And when I look at things in a holistic view, I'm like, like you guys worked really hard all day long.
Right.
Like, how about we nourish the parts of you that had to be ignored so you could get through your day, right? And like, when we talk about balance, it's like we want the balance of strength, but that's only working one part of us.
Yeah.
Right? We have so many systems inside of these forms, right? And we need to just give them all a little bit of attention, a little bit of nourishment.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, this is wellness. This is wellness right here. Like, even just listening to Meghan talk, you see how, the direction that we're going in with this yoga class. We want people to come in, feel comfortable, get accustomed to, the ritual of how the day goes, how the class goes, and, come back and bring more people, right? No, P, you want to say something?
Nah, I was just gonna say, like, one thing I love about yoga, and like you guys are kind of talking about it with the wellness aspect of it, is like how therapeutic it is. Like, I'm a social worker by trade, So like a lot of the times when I'm meeting with people and they're dealing with stress, right? Like it's good to talk about it, right? Because it's a way of kind of like managing and dealing with it, right? But then like the other thing is like the things that you do on your own, like for your own self. And part of yoga is that like meditation practice, right? Or kind of like letting go of your thoughts and kind of being in the moment, right? So like I kind of am interested, and I just kind of want to hear y'all feedback, like, cause y'all do this for a living, so like daily practices or routines, like for people who not only come to the class but like are like listening at home. Like, can you kind of talk to like the importance of incorporating that type of wellness, whether it be like any type of physical activity or yoga? Cause like as I get older, like the workouts I was doing when I was like 20 aren't the workouts that I'm doing now, right? So like I'm more concerned about mobility, like as I get older. So I want to stay strong, but I want to be able to move, right? So I'm kind of like interested to hear y'all opinion on like daily wellness, or like doing these type of activities to kind of keep yourself in shape, keep yourself moving well, and kind of taking care of your mental health and your body.
Megan did say something earlier, which is very true, right? Strength training and yoga can go hand in hand, right? A lot of the more famous bodybuilders, they actually perform yoga, right? And this is because if you get into the allotted amount of range of motion that you need in certain lifts, you actually produce more force to be able to lift heavier, right? So, and for them, like, they're trying to, when you see these weightlifting competitions on TV or ESPN, like, they need to get into a certain stance. They have to hit a certain level to be able to say that it's credited and it's a good lift. So yoga is very important for that type of stuff. And even like as an everyday person who's just going to lift, like you do need to stretch. You do need to, have some type of understanding of breathing when you're talking about doing heavier lifts. So wellness definitely is super important in just being able to even like push your limits to get a little further into, your fitness goals. Or even your lifts, or changing your style of training. You might want to try something totally new, right? And when you're trying something new, your body doesn't know what's going on. So being able to say like, oh well, I consistently do yoga, or I consistently stretch, right? That actually is preventative of being able to get injured. So to me, they go hand in hand, and I try to do as much stretching as I can. I mean, I don't do as much as I probably should. But I definitely know the importance of it, because when I was like 17, 18, like, in basketball, half of us were supposed to stretch and then the other half were warming up. I would skip the stretch. I would just keep warming up to put more shots up, right? So I can't do that now. So, it's super important.
It's interesting that you bring up like the youth aspect of it as well, because it is one of those things where, kids today are in a lot of sports and they do a lot of athletics, and they're injuring themselves in ways that like professional athletes injure themselves, right? And like small kids are needing like ACL surgeries and things like that. Some of it is because it's not a well-rounded program. Like somebody takes they're in one sport and they do that thing exclusively. I wish that yoga were more incorporated into all of youth sports, because it will help to prevent some of those injuries. Like when under the age of like 20, I think like, when you're still developing, you really have to use some caution about not overusing certain parts of the body before they're even fully developed, So that's one part where I would love to see a little bit more of like the asana part of yoga into those programs a little bit more. But in terms of like daily practices, yoga has 8 limbs, and the physical part is only one of them. Most of the limbs of yoga are talking about how you can live better, right? So that you can create a level of like unattachment, right? So that when things happen, it's not that you don't care about them, but you're not gonna let it dictate how your body is. right? So we get disappointed. I'm not gonna allow that disappointment to like sit inside of me and fester, right? I'm gonna say, well, not everything can work out. Not everything is a yes, and that is very valid. And then we just move on to the next thing. The things that are meant to be for you will come to you. With yoga as a daily practice, some of like the simplest things are the best, right? Sitting in a quiet room for 1 minute, right? I'm not even gonna say like 20 minutes. Let's be realistic with our lifestyles. Sitting in a quiet space for 1 minute and taking a couple deep breaths, right? It doesn't have to be a formal practice. It just has to be you with yourself in awareness, right? And one of my favorite things is just like taking a deep breath in and letting it out slowly. And then just pausing. And then all of a sudden, like, things are different, right? And like one of the, and that is a very simple practice to have. We're all in a bathroom at some point during the day, and sometimes I know that is the only place that some people get any kind of break, right? And it seems silly, but like, hell, go in there. You sit on the toilet, whether you have your pants on or not. You sit there, and you take a deep breath in, and you let it out. And you just see where that goes from there, right? Sometimes it can be as simple as being mindful when you're washing your hands, right? There's certain practices that we can like incorporate yoga into. You're wetting your hands, you're putting the soap on, and as you're washing your hands, you're thinking about how it is not just cleansing you of dirt and germs. Let it cleanse you of whatever stress you're thinking of at the moment. Let it take one of the things that's bothering you and just try to wash it away. And it might not do it the first time, but that's why it's called a practice, right? Practices don't always go perfectly. In fact, you could say that there is never a time when a practice goes perfect, because perfect is not necessarily achievable, right? It's perfect is always on the horizon, and we're always walking towards the horizon, but the horizon is always moving. So we just try to do like a couple little things for ourselves every single day. Washing your hands with the intention of feeling relief. Taking a breath with the intention of letting go. One of the things that we do in yoga a lot when we talk about meditation, people think that meditation is like an empty mind. But that's only like at the end, maybe for like a second or two, maybe for little spots in between. Meditation is kind of the act of sitting with your spinning mind, right? And just not trying to hold on to any of it. When you were in your yoga pose during our last class, I can guarantee that your brain was not silent, right? But your body is still, and in that stillness of the body, you can let your mind do all of its spinning, right? I think of it as like a top or like a dreidel, right? At some point, it will stop spinning, right? You just have to watch it until it does. And then it stops, and then it might start spinning again. And you watch it, and then it stops. You're like, ooh, it stopped. And then it starts spinning again. You're like, oh, look at all these thousands of thoughts that I can have at one time. Isn't that amazing? And that's it. It's like, wow, look at all those thoughts. Right? And you like hold on to the ones that you need to, right? Because sometimes there's like an important one. You're like, oh, that's right, I have that appointment tomorrow. I'm really glad I remembered that. Right? So little tiny practices like that to incorporate kind of that wellness into your day. Because when you're strength training, when you are on a treadmill, when, any kind of activity that you're doing for fitness or wellness, if you incorporate some mindfulness into it, then you're bringing yoga into it, right? If you're thinking about your breath when you're on the treadmill, you're having yoga on the treadmill. When you're holding the door open for someone because you see that they have a big package that they have, or they just don't have enough hands and you hold the door for them, that's yoga, right? Because it's being aware of what is happening around you. And then trying to, do some good.
I think this is the deepest we done got in this podcast, man.
I know. Guys, you start me talking about yoga and I will just spin. Right,
So,
we get into that zone and we start to soar.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing. And that's what we want to provide, right? We want people to come in, with whatever they had going on for the day, and then be able to release that, and even think a little bit more conscious of, like, you know what, let me be nice to myself. Let me be nice to somebody else, right? And cannabis does that too. Cannabis kind of helps bring you down if you need to, or help your focus comes up.
It mellows that part out inside of you, and then you're like, oh, when I feel mellow, like, how do I treat the world? And we're always nicer. Right? Like, I ain't never got into a fight while I'm high.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people even want to get in a fight when they high. It's not gonna turn out good.
I want some yummy munchies and like a good movie or something funny.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. P, I don't know if you have any more questions for Meghan.
The last thing is, I'm just kind of like, I would love for you to give like a message to the people, people that may be interested, because we have a lot of people that see the class online. We have a lot of people that come into the space and they hear about the class, but there's always something that kind of keeps people from coming in, right? And today we had an amazing class. I'm very excited. I love to see the community growing, the yoga community growing. So like, for people that are interested in taking a class, like any messages you have for them, or like anything to say to people to get them to might want to work on their yoga or start their practice, maybe even if it's not here, at home.
So I would love for people to know that this space, when we have yoga here, it is open for every ability, every body, every height, every weight, everything that you can possibly think of. Like, you can come here for this class. I will never turn you away. If you want to be in this space, but you are not sure if you want to physically move, you don't have to. You can sit and you can breathe with us. One of the most beautiful things to do, like, in a way, is to watch somebody do yoga, right? You still feel what they're putting out, right? So if you're unsure if you want to be in this space to do yoga, come anyway and just sit. Sit and hang out with us. If you want to breathe with us, you can breathe. If you want to do some stuff while sitting on a bench, you can do that, right? This space is very inclusive. We have room for yoga mats. We have benches if you need to do it in more of a chair yoga style. Everything is adaptable. Just come. We'll try it out. You have any questions, you always let me know. I have worked with a bunch of different bodies, right? If you have a question about your body and you're like, well, when I do this, it feels weird. Like, come on, we'll talk about it. Yeah. We'll figure out a way to make it better, because there always is another option. Always. And I want you guys to feel how amazing you are, and all you got to do is come. You're going to feel good.
That's it. Roll on down to Plant Base. Yeah. Roll on down to Plant Base for our yoga. So we usually do yoga at least twice a month. We're, of course, still experimenting as we're coming up on, being 90 days open.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to understand the cadence of some of these events that we're hosting, the frequency. But Meghan is usually here at least once a month. We're coming into the holiday season, so it's going to get a little tricky. But, as soon as that new year starts, we're back rocking and rolling. We'll have definitely a set schedule. Yoga is usually the first 15 minutes. You can actually purchase a product. We usually create these bundles for yoga for non-smokers and smokers. So you can actually purchase the product. We'll deliver it to you inside of the lounge. You can actually consume some of it, or you don't have to. It's up to you, right? And then you actually start the class right around 11:15, 11:20. So you get about 45 to 40 minutes of yoga. And then, of course, if you want to stay after to hang out, you can ask questions, network, meet people. We usually have something else going on. Like right now, it's football. What?
Football Sunday.
Football Sundays. So we'll probably have something else going on, so you can actually stay for that if you like, and meet a different group of people, right? So the space is very flexible, and that's how we want it.
Yeah, and the products that we're introducing are more for education. We get a lot of people that come into the space, they're interested in consumption, but when they think about cannabis, they think about smoking weed, right? And a lot of the products that we showcase during like yoga events or like when Kev does his boot camp are for recovery, right? We have balms, we have like things that are in pill form, edibles, right? All of these things that help you like focus and calm and recover, right? Because we understand that this is more than something you do recreationally, right? This is something that you can use for other benefits, right? So we're trying to introduce those products to people as well. And that's like why we create the bundle, to educate people, to put them onto things that they could use that doesn't have to be smoked or rolled, right? Like, 'cause people are worried about the stigma, but we have a balm, right? We have recovery edibles, right? So these are things that you can use to help and incorporate into like your everyday life.
More than just, your daily vitamins and stuff. It's the practices that you have. It's the things you put in your body, the things you don't put in your body. If you don't like to smoke, there are still so many ways to use CBD and to get THC and to kind of feel just better. Like we want to be well. We want our bodies to work as much for us as they can. And that's what they're here for. Our bodies are here to heal us, to keep us going, to keep us awake, to keep everything churning.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's for sure. The bundles, they're usually amazing.
They're great.
You can get to try some things that you normally wouldn't get to try, which is the reason for us creating these bundles. Whether it's price point or diversity of product, you get to try something new.
My Instagram handle right now is mdubyoga, EMDUBYOGA. I will probably change that to match my LLC, because things have to do that. But that's how we grow as a business and how we grow kind of in this world. So you can find me there. Plant Base also regularly mentions me and has me linked there, so you can always find me that way.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
These guys are great. This space is friggin' so good. Like, if you haven't been here, like, I love the setup. Like, it really, I can't say it enough. Like, this is one of my favorite things that I get to do during the month, is I get to come down here, share some yoga, share some time with these guys, and promote this awesome space. Like, I'm thrilled for all of this. So you guys should come check it out too.
Yes, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Tell us, what kind of yoga you want to see in the space.
Yes.
What events, what other activities you want to see in the space as we continue to grow. All right. And as we always say,
smoke good, eat good, live good, and keep it base.